It's estimated that 90% of child sexual abuse victims know their molester either through family ties or through their community. But in an increasingly digital age, child predators are hiding behind the anonymity and legal gray areas of the internet to post and trade child porn in addition to soliciting their victims. News Center 16's Tricia Hart explains how child sex abuse is reported in part 1 of her series, Child Predators.
Right now, undercover officers are scouring the internet to try and catch and detect child solicitation on a wide array of platforms. But beyond the computer screen, the detection of child molestation in the flesh is a much different task. As we learned, in the cyber world, the game is about catching predators before they act. While in person, officers are burdened with the fragile task of talking to very young and very innocent victims. The numbers are startling. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before reaching adulthood. By that measure, the Department of Justice estimates 30 to 40% are abused by family members and half by someone they know and trust.
Child sexual abuse is adults' responsibility.
Victims of molestation often end up here at Child and Parent Services, where special forensic interviewers take their statements days, weeks, sometimes years after the sexual abuse. But what President and CEO Candy Yoder has learned, the best way to catch abuse starts with a very simple but sometimes uncomfortable conversation.
One of the parents' first jobs is to help the child name their body parts. And the child also needs to be taught to trust their gut. If they have a funny feeling, and that's often how children will talk about it, that doesn't feel right, that it's okay to tell their parent about it.
Officials estimate half of all sexual abuse never gets reported. But when it is caught, the Department of Child Services leads the charge.
They come in one of two ways. Either they come in through our 800, the 1-800-800-5556 hotline, or they'll get called to law enforcement.
We sat down with James Pippin, regional manager of the DCS, who broke down how incoming reports are then handled.
Is there enough to believe that this probably did happen, and then what can we do? Once we figure that out, then what's the appropriate steps in order to keep this child safe?
If the child involved lives with the accused molester, DCS responds within an hour. But if they're more removed, it sends a case manager within a 24-hour window.
The child's already had something horrific happen to them. We don't want to re-traumatize them.
Trauma limited by a team effort involving the local prosecutor, police, and the case they build seeking evidence. At the same time, law enforcement is charged with an entirely new realm where child sexual abuse and solicitation is possible, and it's not confined to a house, room, or playground.
And it's really kind of a never-ending battle between law enforcement and the predators of who has the upper hand.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, reports 1 in 7 children will be solicited online.
Yeah, you're always trying to figure out the new hot site where a lot of solicitation is taking place.
State and local law enforcement reported an increase in documented complaints of online enticement between 2004 and 2008. That number is due in part to investigators ever adapting methods of detecting cyber predators.
It's gotten easier and harder.
In a room laden with confiscated hard drives and computer screens, Detective Phil Williams of the St. Joseph County Cybercrimes Unit is hard at work tracking those criminals down.
Years ago it was the Yahoo chat rooms. Now that there's so many different ones today, it's incredible.
I guess I'm probably not the surprise you expected, am I?
To catch a predator like stings are just one tool in their arsenal. Now cybercrimes tap into more sophisticated tracking techniques.
One of the most important things is always to make sure that they're afraid of who they're talking to. Really isn't a kid, it's a cop. And that fear is something that we're always going to encourage, and we have to.
Patrolling the dark spaces of the internet, small cybercrimes units search for evidence of child porn and inappropriate chats.
The most common thing is solicitation.
Through the national NCMEC tip line, local cybercrime units pour through anonymous reports. With a simple click, users are guided to an incident page where they can report anything from child porn to obscene materials.
I can have anything from a report of a minor online being solicited by an adult. It could be picture or video. It could be a chat log from captured chats from a social media website.
Local law enforcement reviews those files, then is tasked with deciding which users are downloading images, who is soliciting children, and who poses the biggest threat to the community.
Sometimes it can be crushing because there's a lot out there. And then sometimes it goes quiet. And those are even more scary than when it's crushing because it means people aren't reporting the problems we know are happening.
One of the biggest problems cybercrimes faces is volume. With social media promoting online socializing, the threat of a seemingly innocuous conversation on an app like Instagram could turn dangerous. Tomorrow night, just before 6, we'll break down the growing threat to your children online.
Thank you, Tricia. And we'll have this story and the rest of our Child Predators series online as it airs this week. Just head to WNDU.com and look under special reports. And Mike has another look at your Storm Team 16 forecast next.